Go when you guys are.
G'day, Nathan. How was the travel up to Queensland, and how have you settled into the new digs, I suppose, first of all?
Yeah, look, it's there's a few transition periods that we've had over the last sort of month, I suppose, but getting over, licking our wounds first and foremost on Sunday, getting on the plane Monday and getting here and settled. Bits of. If you're not on, can you turn yourself on to mute? Cheers. The transition was pretty good. Dan, I reckon, obviously, winning and losing has an impact on the psyche of the group and the atmosphere that we're part of. So we were a little bit sombre sort of Sunday night, Monday morning. But jumping on the plane and getting over here brought more than a touch of light to us, given that the boys ran into their families on Monday night. They were met by a banner that the wives and children had put together over the course of the day, and it was quite emotional actually. So it was great for us to be able to see most of our people around their wives and children for the first time for quite a while, and that reunion was quite emotional. But we were able to settle over the last couple of days, and looking forward to the challenge tomorrow.
Hi Nathan, do you think you've put the events of last week and the COVID breaking of the regulations and all that sort of stuff behind you now?
Yeah, Rob, that is in the past, and it's been dealt with and sorted. I suppose our primary objective is to play better footy and to prepare as well as we possibly can to perform better on match day. And we probably our last couple of games just haven't seen enough of the brand that we pride ourselves on. So we just haven't been able to play Collingwood footy. So we sort of lost ourselves a little bit on field. So that's been our major focus, and we really look forward to the opportunity to work towards getting that back tomorrow night against the Swans.
And have you sort of sorted out whether it had any impact at all on last week's football, or has the downward trend been sort of coming anyway?
I'll let you try and attribute the reasons why our on-field form hasn't been as good. I'd say the opposition have kicked pretty straight. I think it's 28 goals, 4 in the last 2 weeks. So 32 scoring shots for 28 goals is going to have an impact. How long's a piece of string, I suppose? There's plenty of things that go into affecting performance. We're about controlling as much of the things that we can control, and if we look after that, invariably it has us in the best headspace, heart space, and physically capable of being able to execute what we want to execute. The reality is we haven't played very well the last couple of weeks, and we've been beaten by sides that were cleaner and were more desperate and had a greater edge to them over the last 2 weeks. But it was only 3 weeks ago where we were the side that did that against Geelong when we first got to Perth. So our challenge is to get back to the things that we can control and make sure that our focus is on that.
Nathan, you often say that you like to be a role-based and system-based team, but just the personnel in particular the last few weeks that have been injured and out, has that, I guess, taken more of an effect?
Yeah, I think during the end there's plenty of reasons or excuses, depends which way you want to look at them, that can impact on performance, both good, bad and indifferent. But where things that are impacting on us are impacting on other teams as well. No one ever has 100% exposure to their list. There's always going to be players that are either injured or not in form, and that's why you've got a deep list to be able to cover that. And we have not been able to do that well enough. Sometimes even when your best list is available, your best players are available, you don't gel together well enough as a team. So our challenge is to look after that we're in a compressed part of the fixture, and our mentality has been to share the load through this period, which we think will help us in the short term and in the longer term, and the benefit of that will is yet to be seen. We're still approaching it. I mean, we would have preferred a win last week. We didn't get it. The opposition deserved it. We didn't. But we moved to tomorrow night, and we need to earn this win and get ourselves back on track. But it's not going to come without paying the price.
Is
Nathan,
Scott any chance of making? Sorry, Jordan. Bucks, I just wanted to ask: is Scott any chance? He said initially maybe 2 games out with that quad.
No, he won't play he won't play tomorrow night, and he's continuing his rehab.
So Nathan, will you look to make multiple changes then, considering the short break? We've seen quite a few teams do that, and is that something that might help you fix or improve your contested possession issues?
Yeah, we won contested ball against West Coast by sort of mid-20s, and then lost it by 36 on the weekend. So I think what you do see when you're not in sync as a team is you get that wild fluctuations in numbers, whether it's in and around the ball or in your capacity to score or your capacity to defend. And I think we've just been out of shape and just haven't looked after the things that we would normally look after. So you've got to credit the opposition with some of those things, but there's a lot of things in our control that we haven't looked after. We need to be in better shape defensively, which is for the most part of the year has been a really strong aspect of the way that we've set up. We know there's plenty of opportunities that we're not taking in our offence, whether it be through the middle of the field or in particular going inside 50, and we've got some work to do there. But if we don't get the contest right and we don't set the ground up the way that we want to, it's pretty hard to execute your game style. So they're things in our control that we've got to get right.
And Nathan, Jaden Stevenson's not the only player that's a bit down on form, but I mean, how have you seen him the last couple of weeks, and some commentary around him being timid?
Yeah, well, Steve-O would like to be in better form, and what generally happens is that someone makes a comment about something and then we get asked a secondary question about it, and then that reinforces it. So, but your first part of the question is right. Steve-O's not the only guy that needs to step up and give us a little bit more. And I suppose one of the benefits of these short turnarounds is that we get to get back to work really quickly. There's a little less analysis and a little more action. So we've got that capacity tomorrow, as does Jaden, to bring his strengths to the table and to fit into a structure that helps each player sort of improve his performance. But you can't do that without committing to team and playing your role in the first part.
When you talk about sharing the load, I know like blokes like Darcy Moore and Jamie Elliott who have had hamstring problems in the past. I mean, do you take into consideration that you might maybe need to give blokes like that a rest over the next few weeks?
Yeah, we do, and we will omit players out of this week's 22 for that reason, to make sure that we've got the freshest, hungriest 22 that we can to take on Sydney. We have been in this situation before, unlike a lot of clubs when we've played Anzac Days midweek. We've encountered sort of 4-day breaks before, but not back-to-back sort of short breaks like this. So what you find is that there'll often be a lag period on the effect of maybe 1 week you could cope with it, the second and the third week you may not be able to cope with it as much. So we began pretty much a policy of sharing the load last week with our selection, and that'll continue over the next couple of weeks.
Nathan, Jordan Ruffett missed out against the Dockers. Is a chance to come straight back in tomorrow night?
Yeah, that was part of. We try and put it, as I said, as balanced a 22 as we can each week. We know that we weren't going to be able to put the same 22 out in the park for the 4 games. So part of that was, we found an opportunity for Mark Keane who did some good things, but obviously when you come up to that level and we don't defend the ground as well as we would like, you're going to be exposed at times. And Ruffy found that the week before against Josh Kennedy. But Ruffy will be back in the side, and we'll pick up the slack and fulfil his opportunity to take the slack from other players as we go through this period.
A couple of players have been out with long-term injuries, Tim Broomhead and Tom Langdon. Are we a chance to see either of those players against Sydney?
Broomy's been in really good form. He hasn't been injured for quite a while now, and he's been working his way back. And he's been around the cusp. He was a carryover player for us last week, so he's on the edge of selection. And Tom Langdon had a run around last week, which was encouraging for him and for us, and he pulled up pretty well from that. So that's the next step for him to return, and he's still got some different levels of intensity and duration to work back towards AFL fitness, and that's still a little bit away. But the signs are positive for Langers.
Nathan, the decision to put Crisp and Elliott into the midfield at times, do you feel it might be exposing you or keeping you a little bit short on other lines to try and when you roll those guys through the midfield?
Yeah, fair question. Billy's role's been the same throughout the year, so that's really not changed our dynamic too much. He's getting as much or as little midfield time as he was. I suppose there's some games where he might be going a little bit better, and depending how the forward line is structured and how it's operating, we can pull a lever on whether it's more or less. Crispy went into the midfield towards the end of the West Coast game, and we wanted to reintroduce Steele and thought that it was a chance for him to play a little bit forward, and he had a really effective second half back in the midfield and still kicked a couple of goals for us. But Jack's primary position is as a running defender, and that's generally helps us when players are in positions that they're familiar with, especially when you're going through a period where there is a bit of chop and change in personnel. So we probably felt towards the end of the game last week that Jack was better as back in his primary role, and we'd expect that he'd be there for the next couple of weeks at least.
Nathan, you touched on the Free-on West Coast both kicking accurately. I think it was 28 goals for. I mean, is that just bad, good luck for them and bad luck for you, or is there a positioning thing that they're getting easy shots? I mean, how do you analyse that?
Well, I suppose if we take the third quarter against West Coast as a snapshot, they kicked 6 straight. 4 of them were from within 5 or 6 metres of the boundary line, pretty much on the same angle. The coach's box was perfectly set up behind it for every one of those, so that was a lot of fun watching all of that. But we had more inside 50s that quarter than West Coast did for far less return. So being efficient when you go forward is a big part of it, and being able to defend your back half when the opposition go inside is another big part of it. For the most part, that we stack up pretty well with that across the whole season. But our last 2 weeks, we haven't been able to defend and support our back six as much as we'd like. And clearly, the front third stuff is still a room for improvement. We're not able to train it with full group contact, but we're in no different scenario to any other team. The training constraints are a little bit different to normal, and with a compressed fixture, you're not going to be doing a lot of training anyway. So we need to make our improvements on the ground and in game. Or through education with video and tape. So we can defend it better. We will defend it better.
And just there was a bit of commentary around you sitting on the bench for a lot of Sunday's game. What led to that, and is it something we can expect going forward?
No, I'll be up back in the box this week, and it's no real link to anything. It was just always looking for better, always looking to have more perspective on things, and had a discussion with the leaders around being a little bit closer to them in game time, providing a little bit more direct support from the senior coach. We get great support from the guys that are generally on the interchange in those roles regardless. But no, I know there was a lot of focus on me in particular last weekend, given non-football related matters. But that was unrelated, and it's all part of looking for better in all our roles and in our connection as a group on field and off.
Mason Cox, Nathan, Mason Cox, will you go back to him again, or is he still a bit of a way off?
Yeah, well, one of the difficulties for the boys that aren't in the side at the moment is, as I said, there's not a lot of training form to go on. We can't do a lot of sort of match practice or shape work as a full group with contact. And our practice matches are 13v13. So we've spoke about before we entered the reality of the 2020 season, that there was going to be some compromise in preparation of players and squads for the football that you were going to see, and we just haven't done it well enough. So blokes like Coxie are probably caught in that nexus a little bit. Without just not possible to prepare as well as you normally would. So it's a different challenge. But no, Coxie's aerial work that he's been able to do in small groups has been pretty good. The work that we've seen a couple of practice or scrimmage sessions with West Coast and Freo over the last couple of weeks, so he's tracking in the right direction.
Do you have I know you said you brought him out for this game, but a clearer timeline on Scott since you spoke on Sunday?
No, nothing to add yet, Mitch. All good?